That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Smoking Causes Coughing, which I believe is the 10th film directed by Quentin Dupieux, which premiered out of as a special screening at the 2022 Cannes Film Festival and is being released courtesy of Magnet Releasing on March 31st, 2023.
Do you know Quentin's other films?
Yeah, so do you.
Go ahead.
We reviewed 2 of them.
Which ones?
Including Mandibules.
About that big fly?
About the big fly that eats the dog, with Adele Exarchopoulos having the speech impediment.
Okay.
We also reviewed his 2019 film, Deerskin.
Oh, so his movies are very similar.
Yeah, and I know that back in 2010, we watched his, I think it's his second film.
About the tire?
Rubber, about the killer tire.
Oh, yeah.
You've also seen Wrong Cops with Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, so all of his films feel very similar.
Yeah,
okay.
I think you certainly have to be in a mood to enjoy them.
I like weird, silly stuff. I thought this movie was okay. It's not crazy enough for me. I feel like there are lulls.
There are lulls, but it's consistently kind of unpredictable and very much like his other films of its own wavelength. Like Deerskin, for instance, I've seen twice and I didn't like it. I tend to gravitate towards... I like what he does with his female characters because they are usually... I don't know, tickle my fancy, I guess.
Well, you like the movie more than I did.
I did, but I understand that it's kind of just frivolous.
So the story, I mean, there really isn't a story, but the basic synopsis is a group of vigilantes called the Tobacco Forces is falling apart. To rebuild team spirit, their leaders suggest that they meet for a week-long retreat before returning to save the world. So the Tobacco Forces are like superheroes. There are 5 of them, and their names coincide with, I guess, the main ingredients to a cigarette.
Yeah, nicotine.
Benzene, methanol, mercury, and ammonia.
But I would liken them to something like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers almost.
Yeah, they kind of look like Power Rangers. So the opening of the film is they are attacking like a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle looking thing made out of like foam. So everything looks real cheap. They defeat it, but their boss, Chief
Didier,
who is a rat. I think the funniest part of the movie is this rat.
I agree.
Because it's like a puppet.
It's a puppet.
And it doesn't have a lower jaw. So it's constantly drooling this like green slime.
It's like ectoplasm / nuclear waste looking. It's very gross.
It's funny.
Especially because Chief Didier, voiced by Dupieux regular Alain Chabat, is sexualized.
So the boss, the rat, is saying like, I can tell that the team is losing like morale. So I'm going to send you on a retreat to build that team spirit back up. And the retreat is basically like them sitting around a campfire. So the bulk of the movie revolves around different characters telling stories, right? So there are like 3 or 4 vignettes of stories because they're saying like, oh, I know a scary story I can tell while they're sitting around the campfire. And we can get into those individual stories, but it ends with 2 of the women on Tobacco Forces are like attracted to their boss, the rat.
Nicotine and ammonia, yeah.
And at the end, one of them sneaks off to go call the rat. And she's trying to flirt with him. And he's like, I don't have time for that. I have some bad news. And he gives her the bad news. So she comes back to her teammates upset, crying, saying that basically there's this villain called Lézardin.
Played by Benoit Poulvord.
Who they knew was going to like try to like destroy the world. But apparently he's going to do it sooner than they thought. So there's no hope of stopping him. So the world's going to end. It's important to know that they have a robot assistant who is around when they kill the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. And then when they get to the retreat, that robot is set to self-destruct. And they're sent a new robot. And we're told that it's new and improved. But throughout the film, this robot is like super slow and like it seems like it's dumb. So it's like, how is this better? Well, in the end, we learn that this robot can engage a protocol that can like make them time travel. So they decide, okay, well, since the world's going to end, new robot assistant, send us to a different era. But the robot's so damn slow that it's like processing the time travel and then the film ends. So
Well,
we never know if it actually worked.
Well, Lézardin is also killed by his wife and child.
So we would assume that the world's not going to end, and maybe tobacco forces get sent to a different era. Yeah, I think the best part of the movie, as far as characters, is the rat. And I think as far as the story goes, what worked best for me are the little vignettes of the stories people are telling. So I kind of wish the film would have focused more on those stories. We spend a lot of time with the tobacco forces, like the characters, and they're not funny to me at all.
Oh, I disagree a little bit because I do like Anaïs, Demoustier, and Oulaya, Amamra, who are in a ton of French films now. But I did kind of like both of them and how they're secretly trying to court Chief Didier.
The only funny part about that is that it's gross that they find the rat attractive. Mm-hmm. And the rat is funny because he's also in bed both times we see him with a beautiful woman. Mm-hmm. Like, it's unbelievable. And then we do see him kissing one of the women, and it's so gross.
And he's leaking all over her, yes. The getaway that they go to, which is just this very depressing looking lake, there's some kind of spherical portal that they go into that is actually this labyrinthine hotel. It reminded me of the bus in Spice World.
Yeah.
And they have a refrigerator / supermarket where there's just a woman played by Marie Buñuel that's just constantly there.
It looks like a refrigerator, but when they open it, there's a woman in there who's running like a bodega.
Yeah. It's, again, I think that the details are, it is very frivolous, but I think you have to be in a mood to just enjoy it for what it is, because it doesn't have any kind of lasting effect, really.
Okay, so the stories that are told within the movie is, there's a story about a woman who finds a thought helmet, which we're told is from like World War II. Mm-hmm. And so this woman is on vacation with her partner and then another couple. And it seems like it's just a normal little weekend trip. But when she puts on the thought helmet, it's like she's just left to her own thoughts. And she realizes that these people who she's with, including her partner, and this life is not what she wants. And it culminates with her killing all of them. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really interesting.
I thought that was fun. And again, it featured Adele Exarchopoulos, and the woman with the helmet on is Doria Tillier, who I thought was kind of funny.
The next story, a little girl like runs up to their campfire, and she's kind of like, it's kind of an annoying scene because her parents are just like concerned about their little girl telling her story. So she tells a story about a fish, which kind of ends. So it's like it's meant to be like uninteresting.
Mm-hmm. But it's used as a foil to interrupt Mercury's story, played by Jean-Pascal Zadi, who keeps saying he has the best story, and they keep never having time to hear it.
And we never hear his story.
Well, he tells something to his kids when he makes a goodbye phone call, but that seems to be of no consequence as well.
Then we get a story, the final story from the main guy who kind of looked like Liam Neeson to me.
That's Gilles Lellouche, who's a major star in France.
He told the first story, and then he catches a barracuda, like in the lake.
With his hands.
With his bare hands. And they're cooking the barracuda when the barracuda wakes up on the grill, like being half cooked. And the barracuda tells a story about, which also was really funny to me, about this woman who runs like some sort of farm, and she has one of those manglers, like where you put wood, like trees in, it comes out like wood chips. And her nephew works for her, and he gets caught in the mangler. But the joke is he keeps saying, I'm fine, I'm fine. And at first, it's just his feet that are caught in the mangler. So bare minimum, he has no feet. And he's like, it's fine, don't worry.
I don't feel anything.
I don't feel anything. And then the aunt is like, she doesn't know how to get him out. And she's like, well, I guess I can reverse the machine. But she doesn't bother to look up how to do it. So each time she does it, it just drags him in more and more. And each time he says, I'm fine. Until ultimately, all of him gets chewed up in the machine. And then they have like a bucket of blood with his lips in the bucket floating. And he can still talk. So I thought that was a really funny, like, weird, morbid story.
Because it's also his mother's birthday, and they're supposed to all converge at that person's house to celebrate it. So she brings this bucket of blood with the mouth in it. And that woman, the Aunt Tony, is played by Blanche Gardin, and you know her from as Léa Seydoux' assistant in the movie France.
I thought overall, this movie kind of felt like if you made like I feel like this director would be good at making torture porn like that's a comedy.
Sure.
And two of the scenes, the thought helmet and then the guy caught in the mangler, that's kind of what I wanted. And maybe, so I thought the better story could have been that we could have just had the tobacco forces go to this retreat and it all happens very quickly that they're around the campfire. And then we get a story from each of the 5, because we only get 2 full stories really. Mm-hmm. We get 5 vignettes. And then in the end, the world might be destroyed. We don't know. But I wish that all of the stories would have, or if we did do it this way, all of the stories relate to maybe like how the world is, like there's no hope for humanity and maybe we should just all start from scratch. But the way this movie is, I feel like I don't really know what the message is. There really isn't a story.
That tobacco force ends up just sitting around smoking a bunch of cigarettes because they think they're like enjoying their last few moments of life because it's not going to last long anyway.
It's not doing enough for me.
So you want it to be like a comedy version of Creepshow.
Yeah, but it could still have a message. Well, because Creepshow does, right?
Well, like, Creepshow 2 definitely does.
With the indigenous people, right? Leslie Nielsen and the, right?
That's the first one. Creepshow 2 has all these kind of white people being punished for their crimes.
Whatever. Either way, I feel like I wish it would have had more of a through line.
Sure, but then that also adds to just kind of it being unpredictable and not... I don't know.
I like unpredictability, but it's not zany enough.
Sure. And again, I felt that way more strongly about previous films like Deerskin, which I liked this a lot more than that. But is it his best work? No. But I think that by now, if you know who he is, you kind of know what kind of the tone to expect.
I could see it being fun, like go to like a cute theater for like a midnight screening with friends and you're drinking beer or something. It could be amusing.
It definitely was a nice palate cleanser when I saw it at Cannes.
My final note is the black character, what's his name?
Mercury, played by Jean-Pascal Zadi, who was also just recently in Final Cut, Coupé, from Michel Hazanavicius.
I thought he looked like if you mix Welvin the Great with Fantasia Barrino.
Oh my god.
But Fantasia from American Idol, like before she got braces. That's
making fun of his dentitia. I thought
he looked crazy.
But he's kind of he's more charming than Welvin.
Well, there's something wrong with Welvin. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with this character.
No, there's not.
He just, he could bite an apple through a picket fence.
Oh my god.
As Adele Givens says. What would you give this movie?
I know I liked it more than you did, a 3.
I would give it 2.5 out of 5. Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.